be independent. We will not start a war against Greenland.
Hello and welcome. I'm Asuma Katauka and you're watching World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. Investigators say DNA from Dr. Umar Nabi Butt, who allegedly drove the I-20 car in Monday's Red Fort blast in India that killed 13 people, matches his mother's sample, confirming his identity. Police believe Butt led a white-collar doctor group in terror module busted days before the explosion. Pakistan's parliament approves a constitutional amendment granting lifetime immunity to the president and current army chief, sparking fears over eroding democratic checks. The 27th Amendment also creates a new chief of defense forces and a federal constitutional court, further centralizing military power. India has inaugurated a new military base in Ladakh, just 30 kilometers from the China-India border, with Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh making the first landing of a C-130J transport aircraft. The base is seen as India's third key station in the region amid a cautious thaw between India and China following last year's border tension, easing pact and renewed direct flights. China has issued a $335,000 reward warrant for Taiwanese influencers Pa Cheung and Chen Po-yon, accusing them of separatism. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council spokesperson Liang Wenqi condemned Beijing's actions, while both influencers publicly rejected China's threats and vowed not to back down. A war of words between Beijing and Tokyo is escalating after Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi said a Chinese attack on Taiwan could trigger a survival-threatening situation for Japan, as the Chinese urges Takaichi to retract the comments. Meanwhile, senior Japanese figures are now urging the expulsion of Chinese diplomat. China's President Xi Jinping tells Spain's King Felipe that Beijing wants stronger EU cooperation and constructive global partnership. The visit comes as China seeks EU support amid trade tensions, while Spain looks for greater economic security and investment. According to South Korean emergency officials, 2 people were killed and 18 injured after a light truck crashed into a market in Bucheon, South Korea. Authorities said the driver, who tested negative for alcohol, blamed a sudden acceleration surge, as investigators now seek to determine the exact cause of the crash. Bangladesh says it will hold a referendum on a landmark democratic reform charter on the same day as its February 2026 parliamentary election. Interim leader Muhammad Yunus has announced the move in a national address, calling it a key step towards political reform. Now we start from New Delhi's blast. A latest development has come in the Delhi blast case, which took place 4 days ago and claimed at least 13 lives. While leaving several others critically injured, we are now learning that national intelligence agencies have revealed that a larger terror conspiracy could be linked to the Red Fort car blast. Reports from these agencies claim that the blast suspects had planned to use 32 old vehicles loaded with explosives for multiple coordinated attacks. Moreover, Faridabad police has also detained another man linked to a second vehicle. This vehicle is identified as a Red Ford EcoSport and was found parked in Haryana's Khandawali village. This comes a day after the central government categorized the Delhi blast incident as a terror attack. Now, earlier in the day, police authorities confirmed that Umar Nabi, a doctor from Pulwama, was driving the vehicle that exploded near the Red Fort. DNA tests from his mother were taken, then collected and matched his remains from the blast site. CCTV footage showed that Nabi traveled through several Delhi locations before reaching the Red Fort on November 10th. At the time of the attack, Nabi was a professor at Al-Falah University in Faridabad. The university now faces scrutiny, and India's Union Home Minister Amit Shah has ordered action against its funding. Meanwhile, the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation has announced that the Lal Killa station will remain closed due to security reasons. However, all other metro stations and lines will be operating as normal. Now for this discussion, we welcome retired Major General Sudhakarji. He's a senior geopolitical and strategic defense expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Major General Sudhakarji, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now looking at this, since we have last spoken, a lot of revelations has come in, and how does this latest revelation of larger coordinated terror plot affects India's counterterrorism priorities and now current intelligence strategy on this interrogation that's ongoing, and what measures should Indian security and defense agencies adopt to prevent the continuation or similar multi-vehicle attacks?
Good evening, Asoma. Thank you for getting me for your show.
Thank you.
In the complete preamble you have given, you have raised two moot questions. I'll answer them one by one. But before I go ahead, my article on Asim Munir's promotion to the honorary rank of Field Marshal, a couple of days after that, had come out in one platform known as India Sentinels. And I had predicted there will be some black swan event around the corner, which Pakistan has demonstrated in the past. Never ever has it accepted the defeat against any conflict with India. It has always claimed that it was victorious and it was successful in beating India in all conflicts ever since its existence. Second, Pakistan also believes and practices in bleeding India with 1,000 cuts. It's a doctrine which came into existence in black and white from 1979 when Zia-ul-Haq was the martial ruler. And since then they have realized that conventionally Pakistan cannot defeat Indian armed forces. So therefore they have to resort to proxy war. Third and most important thing which I wish to highlight is 5th of August 2019, abrogation of Article 370 and 35 Alpha, wherein the complete Jammu and Kashmir was reorganized into two union territories. Two maps were actually published and circulated, and this is the most, I would say, ideal example of cartographic warfare. In just publication of a map, one could actually give jitters to two adversaries. One was China, the other was Pakistan. And on 9th August 2019, the foreign minister had traveled to China. Both together had formulated counter strategy against India, how to teach India lessons. So then started the extended standoff, and also reviving the proxy war south of Pir Panjal ranges. It started from Punch, Rajouri, went on to expand towards Doda, Kishtwar, and thereafter came inside into the Srinagar Valley. Why am I bringing out all this is that there is a big plan, big design in place which is taking place. It is a long-term perspective plan which has got smaller segments of short-term, medium-term and long-term. In this, they are convinced that they cannot be, they are not capable of beating Indian army or armed forces at all. Therefore, they have to go in for something unorthodox, something irregular, something hybrid. And that hybrid component could assume, because between 2020 and 2025, many hybrid components have come to light. One such example is the pandemic, which was a biological warfare launched by China. There is no denying and no excuse on that. And it's still going on, I believe. The pandemic is not yet left its telltale marks. Second, what has come in is the technological threshold in actually the normal conventional operations. So which one thought that perhaps within 7 to 15 days the Russia-Ukraine war would come to an end. They are now going to complete fourth year very soon, maybe a couple of months from now. So, and thereafter also it will never come to an end. Same is the case with Hamas on 7th October 2023, blacking out electromagnetic spectrum for almost about 30 minutes, 6:30 in the morning till 6:55 on 7th October 2023 was another eye-opener. Why eye-opener? Because it was orchestrated by a non-state actor. No country, not even the best of the capability countries like USA and China, they might have stated that they have the capability, but here is a non-state actor which demonstrated the capability, thus indicates that the warfare is not going to be anything ordinary or normal. It will be extraordinary, it will be a new normal. And therefore it brings me to the answer. The question number one is that this time I have given out in that article that they will be resorting to interstate, multi-city serial blast, one. Number two, they will have regional caliphates coming into being, which they were finding it difficult. ISIS particularly, they could not establish till 2019. However, in 2019, the ISI of Pakistan and ISIS, they joined hands. They started a regional caliphate in West Bengal, one in Jammu, one in Maharashtra. Between 2023 and 25, they have opened and established a caliphate in Assam, one in UP, one in Bihar, that is Kishanganj district, and one I am given to understand is down south towards Tamil Nadu. And yesterday only, I have got something from the open source, even Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan border is likely to have a caliphate. So what does it mean? It means that every caliphate is likely to have an island of resistance, which will constitute some leaders to lead the radicalization process, some leaders for fund management, some leaders for communication, they will have communication expertise, and some leaders how to perpetrate mayhem in technological centers of excellence and economic centers of excellence. They will target all four pillars of democracy, be it the legislature, executive, judiciary, or the media, plus the domain experts. They will also target the epicenter of our import and the exports like Mundra and Kandla port, infrastructure development, nuclear scientists. So such are the targets. You may witness soon some kind of a drone warfare taking place, like the way the Ukrainian forces had launched spider web operation going 5,000 kilometers deep into Russian territory and destroying 40 I would say those aircrafts which are responsible for the nuclear warheads. So such are the kind of picturization which I had given out in the article. It appears that along with what I have articulated, 5th of August 2024 also has been a turning point where the 15-year-old Prime Minister who was ruling the country was ousted from the democratic role and position, and the Jamaitis and the fundamentally, I would say, radicalized society, the student body has taken over Yunus in the lead of the role. So therefore, all these things put together, India is actually has to counter-strategize. Firstly, in short term, we need to contain the situation, particularly the Delhi blast. When I say contain, it means we need to identify, apart from where the blast is taking place, which are the other places which could come in the periphery or within the realm of the blast taking place, like the metro station, like a Jain temple nearby, like another temple close to Jain temple, like another center of, say, the nodal communication point. Such like places may be getting affected. Also, as per my open source study and research, there are 18 states rough calculation which had been identified where there would be such kind of multi-city, interstate serial blast taking place. So kudos to our intelligence agencies. They have busted the gang and the architecture of the serial blast which was round the corner. And mind you, 6th of December is the anniversary day of Masjid, which came down sometime way back in 1992. Perhaps it was also in their mind that they wanted to celebrate on this. Dates and times are equally important in such kind of warfare. Last but not the least, to your question is that the long-term countermeasure India can adopt, provided we factor in all these issues, take the citizenry into the realm of the security apparatus. Each one has got a duty and responsibility. It is not the Army, Navy and Air Force or the police forces and the paramilitary forces. Everyone has to put his best foot forward, and collectively we need to anticipate what kind of danger is coming into our society and guard against it, safeguard ourselves, ensure safety and security for each one of us. Back to you.
Thank you very much for connecting everything. And indeed, you had pointed out earlier about being cautious during this time. And with that, I would like to thank Major General Sudhakarji for joining us today as a senior geopolitical and strategic defense expert from New Delhi. Thank you very much. Now we stay in the region. India's Air Force Chief has made the inaugural landing of a military transport aircraft at a new airbase near the Himalayan border with China, as per reports. Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh landed a C-130J on Wednesday at the Mud Nyoma Air Force Station in Ladakh. Located around 13,000 feet above sea level, the base, India's third key station in the region, is just 30 kilometers from the line of actual control with China. The airbase is capable of fighter jet operations, and experts say it strengthens India's strategic position near both China and Pakistan. Despite a recent thaw in ties following a 2024 border pact, mistrust persists with ongoing troop deployments and infrastructure buildup on both sides. India and China share a disputed 3,800-kilometer border and fought a war in 1962. The new airbase highlights India's continued focus on securing its high-altitude frontier. Now we move on to Pakistan. Pakistan's Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi says 2 suicide bombings this week were carried out by Afghan nationals. He has identified both attackers during a live parliamentary session. One bomber struck a police patrol outside the court in Islamabad, killing 12 people and wounding 27 others. Another targeted a military-run school in South Waziristan, killing 3 before a 24-hour clash with soldiers. Naqvi has blamed the Afghan Taliban for supporting militants and said Pakistan repeatedly raised security concerns with Kabul. Tensions with Afghanistan remain high, and Islamabad also points to India's alleged role, which New Delhi denies. The attacks highlight ongoing instability along Pakistan's border and the long-standing threat from the Pakistani Taliban. Now for this discussion, we welcome retired Major General Anuj Mathur. He's a senior defense expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Major General, for joining us today. Welcome to NewsX World. Now, looking at this, how did these recent attacks reflect the evolving threat landscape along Pakistan with Afghanistan, and how could continued Taliban-linked violence affect Pakistan relations with Afghanistan and broader regional security dynamics?
Thank you very much. The fact of the matter is that Afghan-Pakistan relations are not a new aspect which has come up. They are age old. And the fundamental cause of the strained relationship is the Durand Line. This is the Durand Line was created by the British and to demarcate the boundary between British India and Afghanistan many years ago, 1893 if I'm not wrong. And since then this thing has been carrying on. But the fact on ground is that the Pashtun population lives on either side of Durand Line. And that lot, which is basically a part of Afghanistan, has never accepted Durand Line as the international boundary. That is the fundamental core issue. Unless the core issues addressed, their relationship will continue to remain what they are. Having said that, now the current situation is actually directly dependent on what had happened a few years ago when the American forces had left Afghanistan in a hurry, and they had left behind billions of dollars worth of warfighting hardware and equipment. At that point in time, it was the Pakistanis who thought that their own people have come into power in Afghanistan, and Afghanistan actually has become a extended, strategic depth as far as Pakistan is concerned. However, today they are having all the troubles with the same Afghan Taliban. It is because the way they've handled the later issues. Now, and when I say later issues, is when the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan started doing its acts in Pakistan, they continue to blame it on Afghanistan. Exactly the same thing they are doing even today. Now, I'm not trying to sound biased, but the fact of the matter is, Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan is a creation of Pakistan. They add Pakistan as a suffix to their organization, and they claim themselves to be Pakistanis, and they are doing things within the premises of their own, so to say, country. Now, the second issue which has come up is that their activities have now increased, and Pakistan feels, maybe right, maybe wrong. I wouldn't make a positive comment on that. Pakistan feels very strongly that Afghanistan is behind all the activities which are taking place in Pakistan by the TTP. But see how the things have turned 180 degrees around. The same the Afghan Taliban, which were thought to be Pakistan's creation, actually they are Pakistan's creation. Their external affairs minister has studied in Madrasas in Pakistan. So are many others as far as the Taliban is concerned. And now they are being blamed for everything that is happening in either Balochistan or in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa districts, things of Pakistan. The blasts that have taken place. Initially, if you recollect, the TTP, Tehrik-e-Taliban in Pakistan, had owned the responsibility for those blasts. Then after a day, the thing had turned around, and the Pakistani external affairs minister, or whatever minister he says that it has been done by the Afghans. Now, is this an issue which is an afterthought? If you look at the events that are taking place just prior to their talks between Afghanistan and Pakistan, which are taking place either in Qatar or in Istanbul in Turkey, there is an escalation of violence by either side or one of the sides. So is this that similar kind of an escalation which is taking place before the talk was to take place in Istanbul, the third round, probably the last round, which I have my question marks whether that eventually will succeed or not. But the issue is that situation on the Afghanistan-Pakistan border is getting worse, and there is a need. This can only be resolved by a dialogue. You have to create conditions for the dialogue to take place, and thereafter you can try and resolve it. If you continue to keep blaming each other and keep intensifying the activities on either side of the Durand line prior to talks or immediately after the talks, it is not going to take you anywhere.
And Major General, as you highlight that their relationship has not been good for a long time, and they blame others. In this case, you mentioned Pakistan blames Afghanistan or even India for its problems, and that you do not see it improving. Today, we saw that Pakistan has granted lifetime immunity to their president and army chief. Do you think these changes could affect, or how could it affect Afghanistan-Pakistan relations if it could? And what implications could this amendment have for Pakistan's geopolitics with Afghanistan or neighboring countries?
See, I will tell you one thing very clear. Pakistan is a country which has had 4 direct bouts of military rules: Yahya Khan, Ayub Khan, Ziaul Haq, and Pervez Musharraf, and 3 suspensions of their constitution. Pakistan as a country is quite used to military way of controlling things. The earlier military rules or the martial laws were when the military generals actually got hold of the power. Now, this time around, what they have done is, by creating that kind of an amendment, by putting almost every authority under Field Marshal Asim Munir, they have created a situation where the army gentleman, field marshal, continue to remain army field marshal, but controls the national politics and everything else. Now I will tell you how it will impact the way a military mind tries to resolve a position or a problem or an issue is by use of violence. And violence of a radical mind, please mark my words, violence of a radical mind, I have no hesitations in saying that the current Field Marshal of Pakistan Army has a radicalized way of thinking, a radicalized mind. And the violence of a radical mind can actually become extremely counterproductive in interstate relationships and situations which they have to encounter within their country. Balochistan is burning, KPK is burning, POJK. There are issues which have risen. Gilgit-Baltistan, there are noises being made. Sindh, there are noises being made, and this kind of authority going into the hands of a radicalized military general, to my mind, is not going to be very, very good for Pakistan themselves. Recall the statement made by the same gentleman in the USA a few months ago, and where he says that if there is an existential threat to Pakistan, I will take half the world down with me. A person who is so, I would say so clear on the use of nuclear weapon systems. Is it wise to put the nuclear command under his command? I have my own doubts. Few others need to take a serious note of this particular thing. But with this having happened, the relationships with both India and Pakistan, I wish they don't do it. I wish they don't deteriorate, but they will deteriorate. One. Two, within their own internal dynamics, you will find things, getting tougher for the situation, because a civilian administration can better take care of all these things. However, if you look at the Pakistani point of view, some of them argue that their best development has taken place when they were under the military rule or under the rules of military generals. So that is their way of looking at it. I still feel that international relations with India, and just give me one more minute, please, are going to deteriorate. One. And secondly, this has some extra-regional tone in it. The way American president has been harboring Field Marshal Munir, somewhere at the back of things that are taking place in Pakistan, a relationship with Donald Trump of the Field Marshal Munir also needs to be looked at.
Right. Thank you very much for giving that insight on the background of this whole news. With that, I would like to thank Major General Anuj Mathur for joining us as Senior Defense Expert from New Delhi. Thank you very much. Now we move on to China. Chinese court has rejected the appeal of journalist Dong Yu, upholding his 7-year prison sentence on espionage charges, his family has stated. Dong, a senior columnist at Guangmin Daily, was detained in February 2022 after meeting a Japanese diplomat in Beijing. The diplomat was released, but Dong was charged in 2023. His family called the ruling a shameless act of persecution, saying evidence proving his innocence was ignored. The Committee to Protect Journalists condemned the decision and urged his immediate release. China's foreign ministry said the case is a legal matter, while critics say media freedoms have sharply declined under President Xi Jinping, with harassments of nationals working with foreign outlets. Now we move on to Bangladesh. In a televised address, Bangladesh's chief advisor to the interim government, Muhammad Yunus, has announced the country will hold a referendum on its July charter for state reform in February 2026. This referendum will take place alongside the national elections scheduled for the first half of February next year. Briefing further on the elections, Yunus has stated that the government is taking all necessary steps to ensure the elections are free, fair, and cost efficient. Let's listen into what he has said.
আমি ঘোষণা করেছি যে আগামী ফেব্রুয়ারির প্রথমার্ধে জাতীয় সংসদ নির্বাচন অনুষ্ঠিত হতে যাচ্ছে। এই নির্বাচন উৎসবমুখর, অংশগ্রহণমূলক ও সুষ্ঠুভাবে অনুষ্ঠানের জন্য আমরা সব প্রস্তুতি গ্রহণ করছি। আমাদের উপর অর্পিত দায়িত্ব আমরা সঠিকভাবে পালন করার জন্য সর্বাত্মক চেষ্টা করে যাচ্ছে। আমরা সকল বিষয় বিবেচনা করে সিদ্ধান্ত নিয়েছি যে আগামী জাতীয় সংসদ নির্বাচনের দিনেই গণভোটের আয়োজন করা হবে। অর্থাৎ জাতীয় নির্বাচনের মতো গণভোটও ফেব্রুয়ারির প্রথমার্ধে একই দিনে অনুষ্ঠিত হবে। এতে সংস্কারের লক্ষ্য কোনোভাবে বাধাগ্রস্ত হবে না। নির্বাচন আরও উৎসবমুখর ও সাশ্রয়ী হবে। গণভোট অনুষ্ঠানের লক্ষ্যে উপযুক্ত সময়ে প্রয়োজনীয় আইন প্রণয়ন করা হবে।
Moreover, Yunus has also expressed confidence that political parties will accept the government's decision in the interest of the nation. Earlier in the day, Bangladesh's interim cabinet has approved the July National Charter Implementation Order 2025. This order will take now effect based on the outcome of the referendum. The charter, which was drafted after last year's student-led uprising, aims to reform the country's political system and institutions. Now, those in favor of the national charter views it as a step towards long-term reform, while others question its impact without the legal framework or parliamentary consensus. This comes as Bangladesh witnesses widespread unrest ahead of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's trial. Explosions and arson attacks have struck Dhaka and surrounding areas in recent days. In response, the interim government has deployed thousands of police and paramilitary forces, sealing off key routes and stationing armed units at critical installations to maintain order. Now we move on to South Korea. South Korean authorities report a tragic market crash in Bucheon, west of Seoul. A light truck plowed 150 meters through a busy passageway lined with stalls. Local officials said at least 2 people were killed and 18 others were injured. The truck initially reversed 28 meters before speeding into the outdoor market. The driver, in his 60s, blamed a sudden surge of acceleration, and he was not intoxicated when tested for alcohol. Police have arrested the driver and investigations are examining the vehicle. Officials confirmed that 2 victims suffered cardiac arrest and later passed away. And that's a wrap on Primetime Asia. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.